On Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube, welcome to the Morning Skate Report presented by UMC on this great Monday. This amazing start of the Stanley Cup semifinals in which the Vegas Golden Knights, the newest franchise in the National Hockey League, take on the most successful franchise in the NHL, which goes back more than a century, in the Montreal Canadiens. Daren, Millard, along with my good friend Mike McKenna here in Studio 31 at City National Arena. And before we get your comments or what we expect from this best of seven Stanley Cup semifinal series, let's get you right out to Pete DeBoer, who's started his media availability regarding the Zoom and whether or not he anticipates this to be a slow series because they haven't met before this season, or to hit the ground running. Here is Pete DeBoer.
Coach, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
We now return you to your regularly scheduled morning skate report presented by UMC, Daren, Millard, Mike McKenna. They just wrapped up there. We'll bring you all the particulars and questions of interest and sound bites that Pete DeBoer offered up this morning. But this series, Montreal against Vegas, has just been littered with storylines.
There's so many. I mean, first you've got two of Canada's Olympic goaltenders in Marc-Andre Fleury and Carey Price going head-to-head. You've got the Max Pacioretty and Nick Suzuki situation that was previously with the trade involved, and now just two teams that haven't played against each other in the regular season. They haven't seen each other for so long that it's so many interesting dynamics, and you look at how players are going to respond to this. Well, there's excitement on both sides of it to just face a team you haven't seen. You don't know what you're going to see in the first game until it starts to play out and goes into a series, but you're going to find the intensity is going to ramp up very quickly. You get to the semifinals and you can taste it. You know you're one series away from playing for the Stanley Cup. I think we're going to see a pretty spirited first period tonight.
Vegas has been to the Stanley Cup final once previous in its 4 years. The Montreal Canadiens have not visited the ultimate stage of the NHL playoffs since 1993. That was Canada's last Stanley Cup. So there's differing approaches to the recency bias of the success of Vegas. Was a 2 seed in the West. Montreal was a 4 seed in the North, but they collide here in the Final Four of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Before we get into some of the Max Pacioretty, former captain, and the Suzuki, and a couple of the underlying storylines that will affect the games themselves, just Vegas and their route to this 7-game series over Minnesota, winning on home ice, and then dispatching Colorado in 6.
I feel like the Golden Knights have learned a lot from both series, especially you look at Minnesota. I mean, a grueling 7-game set where they had to find different ways to win. They had to find ways to get inside, to create opportunities that weren't just on the rush, and they had to grind, you know, and at times you had a goaltender in Cam Talbot that seemed like he was getting into the heads of the Golden Knights players. Well, that's something they can learn from in this series, especially with Carey Price at the other end, who's known for doing that. I think the Golden Knights will be very focused on their task at hand, how they generate chances versus who they're facing in goal. And you just think about the different ways against Colorado, a team that's really, really fast, that the Golden Knights had to contain. They had to play on top of them. They had to manage that top line of McKinnon and Landeskog and Rantanen. You'll see something similar to that with the Canadiens. You'll see it with Suzuki, Caulfield, and Toffoli. This is a line that's on the verge of that same type of success. Not the same as McKinnon's line. I mean, that's a world class, but they're going to have to contain these guys. So I think out of both of the two series that the Golden Knights have previously played, Minnesota, Colorado, a lot of learning, and this is what makes you better as you go on. They've had to earn both these series, 7 games, 6 game, a little bit of time off, let the body heal. They'll be ready to rock come game 1.
Vegas, an overwhelming favorite in this Final Four scenario against the Montreal Canadiens. First time they've ever clashed in the postseason, which is interesting because we've got a bit of a theme going here in the 2021 Stanley Cup playoffs. Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, wherever you're watching right now, send us your comments. Where you're going to watch the game tonight, what rituals you have going through the first 2 rounds of the Stanley Cup playoffs to bring everything to the positive side of things and the good luck part of watching a game. So give us just an overview of what you're doing, or if you're curious about what the lineup's going to look like. We've seen a lot of tweaking throughout especially the Colorado series by Pete DeBoer coming into it and changing the roster around, making sure that everybody stays fresh. So Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, give us a shout. Love to check in with you, from Finland and the Midwest already, coming towards Mike McKenna and Daren Millard. So Montreal pulls off the big upset over the Toronto Maple Leafs in the first round, down 3-1, win 3 in a row, and then sweep the Winnipeg Jets. So Montreal arrives as the hottest team in the Stanley Cup playoffs, having won 7 in a row. How have they done it?
Well, they've done it because they've managed to take care of their defensive zone first. They're playing really strong, and they're not allowing a lot of opportunities offensively that are in the really great areas. And then when they have, Carey Price has been phenomenal. So they've had that defensive structure and that defensive core. They haven't had the D scoring like the Golden Knights have. You know, you've got players like Shea Weber that can shut down. One thing to look for is Jeff Petrie is presumably not going to play tonight. He's one of the offensive catalysts for the Canadians. It seems that he will be on the sidelines, but they've taken care of their zone defensively, and the offense has come from it, and they've let the young guys play. They've let Cole Caulfield, he's the reigning Hobey Baker winner as the top player in NCAA Division I hockey. He comes out of there, he goes to the American League, rips it up. Comes to the NHL, keeps it going. He's got 4 assists, but his game grows, and I think he's given them some confidence now. You've got Kotkaniemi, who's playing very well, another young player, Nick Suzuki. So they're trusting their young players in situations. They're responding, they're scoring, but they also have their veteran leadership. They still have Weber and Gallagher, and can't forget their moves at the trade deadline. Picking up Stahl, picking up Gustafsson as a defenseman who has very good ability on the power play. Mark Bergevin made some smart moves this year in the offseason and during the season to make his team play at the level that they wanted to. And now you're seeing it. 7 games in a row. They're riding confidence.
Familiar name will be Corey Perry, who came over from the Dallas Stars, went head-to-head with the Vegas Golden Knights last year inside the bubble, a longtime Anaheim Duck Hall of Famer, and he obviously will be a big thorn in Marc-Andre Fleury's side in front of the crease, and he actually started on the taxi squad this year and has worked his way into an important role. Question coming in from Twitch as we take a look at the Station Casinos rink cam. Players coming on the ice for the morning skate prior to Game 1 of the Stanley Cup semifinals. They'll be playing for the Clarence Campbell Bowl. In this series, the Prince of Wales Trophy goes to the winner of the New York Islanders and the Tampa Bay Lightning. Question on Twitch: how will the Knights handle the Suzuki, Kotkaniemi, and Caulfield line?
Very similar to the McKinnon line from Colorado, right? They play with speed. They have a very diverse attack. And the Golden Knights will have learned from how they played Toffoli last year in the bubble with Vancouver. He's got a ton of speed. The puck gets on and off his stick very quickly. He finds soft areas in the offensive zone to get his shot off, and you have somebody like Caulfield who's at this level, he's on the verge of being an elite playmaker even in the NHL. That's where his game is. The trajectory is going up to him. You've got to play on top of them in the neutral to not let them get into your zone. Again, similar to that McKinnon line from Colorado, but Suzuki can fly. You don't want to let him shoot the puck down the wing. You've got to be able to keep a tight gap on him. I think that, again, you learn from what you've done in the past, and you want to make sure you keep them off the power play. Montreal's power play first round against Toronto wasn't great. Second round against the Jets, it came alive. And again, it was from those same 3 players. So if the Golden Knights stay disciplined, if they stay out of the box, that's another way to minimize the effectiveness of the attack of that top line for Montreal.
Haven't talked about Brendan Gallagher. We'll get into that in just a little bit. Shea Weber is an experienced defenseman, played with Alex Pietrangelo on that Canadian Olympic team in 2014, so they were part of the same defensive core on that front. Lots of questions coming in about Marc-Andre Fleury and whether or not Robin Lehner will get a start during this series, just to spell off the 36-year-old.
Who knows? I guess that's the easiest answer. I mean, we can't really predict the future with it. All we know is that the Golden Knights still know that they have 2 number 1 goaltenders, players that have both been able to come in and play quality minutes. And as a coach, you have to be able to adapt. You have to look at your lineup and think, okay, is this a moment where maybe Marc-Andre would benefit from a night off? Or do you just keep rolling him? Okay, you have that availability. To me, Marc-Andre's age doesn't factor into this at all. You know, and I draw from my own experience playing my best hockey at 34, 35, 36. And he's in such good physical shape that he revels in it. He's had 2 days off the ice, didn't skate in those. You can see him out there now taking his warm-up. But I think that with Marc-Andre especially, you're going to feel how he is in his game. And Coach Pete DeBoer always knows that he has a good secondary option in Robin Lehner if necessary. We may see both, but who knows?
We'll revisit the goaltending in just a little bit, but right now back to more media availability. I guarantee this will be a little bit longer stay with Alex Tuck, who's at the podium.
Impact it had when we played Colorado last round, and we're expecting it to be just as big of an impact against Montreal. So we're really excited and pumped up to play in front of a sold-out crowd.
Next question comes from Justin Emerson, Las Vegas Sun.
Just on that a little bit too, you haven't seen the Canadians in so long. When you played the Wild and the Avalanche, you obviously knew them pretty well from the regular season. So what's it like prepping for a team that you guys haven't seen all year?
Yeah, it definitely is a bit different. Playing teams 8 times in the regular season and then 6 and 7 times in the postseason, you get really used to a team. Montreal is a completely different team than both Minnesota and Colorado. We had a few days to prepare for them, watch video, and I know a lot of the guys, I think almost everyone had watched them throughout the entire postseason. So we know what to expect, and but we have to first and foremost focus on our game.
Next question comes from David Shane.
I know in last game you had a pretty big hit on McKenna, and I'm wondering if you felt like that fired up the team, that felt good for you, and is that something you're trying to add to your game a little bit, the physicality?
Yeah, I kind of let anger run through my veins a little bit during that hit, I guess you could say, and I try to make an impact as much as possible in every way that I can. So I hope it pumped up the team a little bit. I know that during this series, we're going to have to be physical on some of their skill guys. Guys like Suzuki, Caulfield, Toffoli, not the biggest guys in the world, but we can't give them any time and space. So if I have to go out there and try to get a hit like that or just be physical in general, I think I'm going to try to do so this round.
We'll take a few more questions here. Next question comes from Willie Ramirez.
During the first couple of rounds, playing every other day, maybe an extra day off, kind of asked you about that throughout, asked the players and Pete, just the grueling schedule. Now you've had some time off. Is it now on the other end of it where getting antsy and want to get out there, maybe too much time, is that something? Can that be a factor?
I wouldn't say we have too much time. We did play 6 games against Colorado. Montreal had a little bit more of a break than we did. We had enough time to do video and do our due diligence on a team that we haven't seen all year. But it was good. Obviously, in the playoffs, guys are going to be banged up a little bit. So just get some rest and recovery and a little bit of maintenance time, I think is good for the body. And it's kind of a reset mentally as well. So I think our team's very prepared for tonight.
We'll take 2 more questions. Next question comes from Justin Emerson, Las Vegas Sun.
At the risk of asking an obvious question, I guess, what are your thoughts on Carey Price and how excited are you to take that challenge and start scoring him?
He's one of the best goaltenders in the league. He has been for several years now. He's going to be a challenge, but we're up for the challenge. We're going to try to score as many goals as possible against him. But like I said, he's one of the best goaltenders in the league right now. And on our side, we have one of the best goaltenders in the league too. So they're going to have as big of a challenge as we are. But we got to get pucks and bodies to the net and try to make them uncomfortable all night long.
And last question comes from Christopher Heidel.
Hey, thanks for taking my question. Just talk about playing at home. You guys do really well during the postseason, and talk about that environment, because it seems like you guys love playing in front of those people in Vegas.
Yeah, I think playing in Vegas is really special to myself and to our team in general. We feed off the crowd's energy and emotions, and believe me, they bring it every single night. So it's a very exciting atmosphere to play in front of. We try to use the momentum from the crowd as much as possible, and they haven't disappointed us yet, and we hope that we won't disappoint them.
Alex, thank you for your time.
Universal Solar Direct. Pay less for your electric.
Look at all these bills.
We've got to find a way to save money somewhere.
Universal Solar.
Let's go solar.
Call Universal Solar Direct now to go on a power play with our exclusive offer. 0 down, 0 payments for 5 months, and 0 interest for 9 years. Invest today, save for a lifetime.
Universal Solar Direct.
Proud sponsor of the Vegas Golden Knights.
Call 702-483-6900.
You got to put your heart and soul into it. Give it 110%. This is what you've been working for. You got to play like there's no tomorrow because...
Yeah, Dad. I got it.
Because this is where champions are made.
Vegas Golden Knight Alex Tuck is a hero on the ice, and off the ice he's doing something even more important. He's a registered organ, eye, and tissue donor. In the United States, more than 100,000 people are waiting for a life-saving organ transplant. That's more than 5 times the capacity of the Fortress.
We all have the power to end the wait.
My son Mikey saved 8 lives and healed many more.
Learn more about Nevada Donor Network and register to be a hero at nvdonor.org.
A lot of Alex Tuck this morning in the Morning Skate Report. Thank you for joining us as we come to you from City National Arena inside Studio 31, presented by UMC, looking at the Station Casinos rink cam. The Vegas Golden Knights are on the ice this morning for the morning skate. It's an optional skate. Not everybody is out there, but Marc-Andre Fleury certainly getting his work in ahead of game number 1. Interesting that he had 4 days between games between the Minnesota series and the Colorado series, because Robin Leonard played and then they had 2 days off. 3 days in this situation, a couple of practice days thrown in there, but that rest may be able to just give him enough time to be able to run the table.
Yeah, and it's not just your physical rest, it's your mental rest too. You know, like Marc-Andre didn't take practice 2 days ago. He did yesterday, took the full practice, and just having 2 days off for a goaltender, I can tell you, is just massive. You know, you love to be on the ice, you love what you do, but there's some days you just want to go home and see your family and just relax. And it helps. You build your mental stock, right? You can dip into it whenever you need to. Physically wise, yeah, it helps also. And, you know, not just for goaltenders, but for the players too. I mean, a lot of these guys are facing bumps and bruises that we don't see, you know, you guys don't see this behind the scenes, okay? Players come in and they get treatment almost every day, that the medical staff takes care of the players, just little things to keep them in tip-top shape. It's part of being a pro. It's part of understanding your own body and taking that time off when necessary. Morning skates that are optionals like this, you don't have to skate. If you're not feeling it, don't go out there. All of that stuff plays into being a pro, understanding your own body, working in sync with the athletic trainers. It's really important stuff, and really, Daren, I feel like it doesn't get highlighted enough how important those guys are to keeping the players.
The weird part, though, is they're getting healthier.
That's
the amazing part about this year's postseason. Bob on Twitch asking, does practicing against Fleury every day give the Golden Knights an advantage against Carey Price?
I don't think it makes any difference, really. You know, practicing against a goaltender is... You've got somebody like Marc-Andre who battles on everything in practice, but they are 2 different goalies. And I think if you'll talk to any team in the NHL, you have trust in your goalies. And when you face them in practice, some of us are different. Some of us try to stop every puck. Some are more judicious in what they go for. But I do think the compete level of Marc-Andre Fleury brings the excitement to practice for the team. You know, it tactically doesn't matter. Carey Price, Marc-Andre, they're different goaltenders. But I think for the Golden Knights, any day they're on the ice with Marc-Andre, it just ups the level of fun on the ice and keeps the team engaged.
We have Jeff Petrie and Jake Evans and John Merrill were all on the ice doing some extra work for the Montreal Canadiens over at T-Mobile Arena. So Jake Evans was the player that was hit by Mark Scheifele. Looks like he's getting closer to getting back into the lineup. And Petrie, the defenseman that you spoke of, major important cog in the Montreal Canadiens blue line, not ready to go yet. And John Merrill, familiar, he went over from Detroit to the Montreal Canadiens at the trade deadline, former VGK. So it doesn't sound like those 3 will play. As we try to get our heads around the Montreal Canadiens, a little unique here in the sense that, and we saw this yesterday, the Islanders in Tampa Bay, a feeling out process early on in the game, trying to get your bearings against somebody that you haven't played all year.
I've got some experience with this, and it kind of speaks to my career and how it was a lot of minor league stuff. But when you get to the finals in the American Hockey League, you don't cross over. between conferences, right? And that's kind of what we're facing. It's exactly what we're facing here is you face a team that you haven't played all season long. So you do a ton of homework leading into the series, and especially considering that, hey, they've had a couple of days leading up to it, and you tactically try to figure things out like we saw with the Islanders in Tampa Bay. Like you said, it was a feeling out process for the first period and a half before things got rolling. When you go very quickly into a series, it's different. Sometimes those games end up track meets. We had a couple of those that were 5-6, 4-5 games that went up and down the ice. But I think with the level of diligence that coaching staffs have in the NHL, your availability to have video review to prep your players, it may be that for the first period or two. But that's not what the Golden Knights want. On home ice, they want to come out hot. They want to grab the lead in the first period and dictate the series. But of course, you got two teams on the ice that have both been looking at video now for a long time, not just the last 2 days. Coaches have been preparing for these series even before that. It's amazing the level of detail that they work with.
Word from our sponsor, City National Bank. City National Bank is the official bank of the Vegas Golden Knights, as the Golden Knights will try to win Game 1 for the first time in this postseason.
Isn't that crazy to believe? 2 series in a row, and Minnesota had to fight for it 7 games. Colorado, remember the 7-1 drubbing. Everybody's writing the Golden Knights off, like putting the words on the tombstone. But like, I think it helped the team. I think the game against Minnesota, Game 1, wasn't as big of a deal because the Golden Knights were able to come out and get the second game and get it going. But like, you think about what happened against Colorado and basically getting punched in the face right off the bat. And against the team that they tied in points in the regular season and were even with in the series, there was still this narrative that team was just so good. Can anybody beat Colorado? The analytics, the defense, the offense, goal setting, everything. Well, you get up against that in the locker room, and it's like, why are people writing us off here, man? We put up top points in the league here, too. We led the league for a lot of this season, and I think that just put a huge chip on the Golden Knights' shoulder because you saw Game 2, once they got their minor penalties out of the way in the first period, they rolled, and 4 of the 6 games, they were the better team in the series against a team on paper that people thought was stronger. Well, guess what? Golden Knights' depth came alive. It showed why it's important. They played 25 players so far in playoffs. 21 have a point. That's the exact type of depth you need. You need the D scoring. You need Will Carrier and Keegan Colasar chipping in goals like they did in Game 6. That's why they beat the Colorado Avalanche. And a lot of that had to do with that mentality, that underdog mentality that they built up from losing that first game.
How difficult will it be for Montreal in the early going tonight, knowing that there's 18,000 plus in the building? They've played in front of 2,600 at the Bell Center, the biggest building in the National Hockey League, by the way, in Montreal. So just getting your bearings around that as an athlete.
I think they're actually excited for it. I've talked to a couple players that are close to the situation, and they couldn't wait to get out of Canada. And no offense, Daren, I'm very, very Canadian, my friend, and then so many people on our staff here, and we love our northern friends. I mean, the maple syrup that comes and everything, all those cliches, but like, they've been cooped up. They haven't been able to do anything. They've just barely got a couple grand in the building. They show up here and there's signs of life, and that feeds into both locker rooms. So I think there's definitely going to be an excitement, but it is kind of a shell shock factor, right? They're going to skate out in warmups and see more fans in warmups than they've seen all season combined in their building. That's daunting, and the noise and managing it. But they do have players that have done it previously. I think that excitement's really just going to build for both teams. And, frankly, isn't it an advantage for the Golden Knights? Yeah, when they score a goal and you can't hear yourself think in that building, absolutely. But from the start of the game, it'll go both ways.
I just wonder if there's a shock factor there. We have a day-long coverage ahead of Game number 1 of the Vegas Golden Knights Stanley Cup semifinal series against the Montreal Canadiens. Nighttime at noon comes your way. 4 o'clock is the VGK Insider Show on Fox Sports Las Vegas. Both those programs there. And then the pregame show at 5 o'clock with Ryan Wallace on the VGK Radio Network. Also watch the game on NBCSN and tune into that one just after 6 o'clock. Just 6 o'clock Pacific time, and the face-off just after that time for a packed Fortress. Looking forward to this one. Just final thought ahead of Game number 1. Maybe something you're looking forward to tonight.
I just think that you look at the depth of the Golden Knights is what we talk about all the time, but I think it's really to look at how they manage up and down the lineup, second line matchups, third line matchups, where that comes into play for the Golden Knights, right? Can Alex Tuch dominate this game against the depth of the Canadians? Can the Misfits line keep it going? Because they've been phenomenal. Will Carlson's leading the team in scoring. Marchessault's got his game winners. He's got a bunch of goals. Riley Smith's been driving the play. I look to those lower matchups to really see where that factors in. Because I think that, the first line of the Golden Knights has done their job. They won't be relied upon as much this series to play that defensive role like they did. So do we see their offense grow yet again? Do Mark Stone and Max Pacioretty start connecting? I really want to see what happens with the power play, though, Daren. It hasn't been quite where the Golden Knights need. The penalty kill has been outstanding, but for the Golden Knights to get through the semis and then to carry it into the Cup Finals, hopefully down the road, they will need more from the power play. I can't wait to see what the answer is for that. No, they've been working on it, and they've got a plan.
Just the second time that a former full-time captain of the Montreal Canadiens faces the Bleu Blanc Rouge in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Max Pacioretty going against his former team hasn't occurred since Doug Harvey in 1968. So the layers continue to build for two teams that have never met in the Stanley Cup playoffs. The first round, you had the Mystique of Minnesota. The second round, the Colorado Juggernaut. And this time around, it is the favorites, the Vegas Golden Knights. Again, nighttime at noon with Gary Lawless comes up in just a little bit. And then it's the VGK Insider Show at 4, pregame show at 5 on the VGK Radio Network, and the game on NBCSN if you want to tune into the television coverage. Enjoy game number 1, Mike. Enjoy game number 1 to you, VGK Worldwide. Thanks for being with us on the Morning Skate Report presented by UMC.